Welcome to the Issue Reset podcast.
And today we're in the room with Animal Sun. So how did you get into music? Like, when did it stop just being something playing in the background and you really started to take notice of it?
When I was 10, I saw like the music video for I think it was Move Along by the All American Rejects. And for some reason, I looked kind of similar to that guy growing up. Not anymore, but I had similar hair, and I was going through really rough divorce at the time, like my parents were. So I kind of used to, every time I would see some sort of strong, successful, seemingly cool figure, because it was not cool at all, I would just pretend I was that person. And that music video hooked me. And then I started playing guitar, even though my dad had tried to get me into playing guitar for years. I was not doing it. And then, found it on my own, fell in love with it. And I was really good at soccer. I mean, I was football, as you guys say there. I was going to Italy at the age of 11. I was going to Italy to play because I got scouted and I had a whole future plan, blah, blah, blah. I decided to rebel and do music instead because, the whole divorce thing, pissed at your parents and whatnot. And then James, a close friend of mine, passed when I was 16. And that's when I was like, all right, this thing that has been, my main passion for the last 4 years, I'm now going to go after with everything I got, because life just showed me how short it is. And that's basically the story of how it happened.
I mean, it's great when you can turn a hobby into something you really want to do. And I mean, if you can make it a job, even better.
Even better.
It's a very, very demanding job. Way more than people realize.
Yeah, it's not just a viral TikTok and you get a good song. There's a lot more goes into it.
TikTok's fun. We're doing quite well on TikTok for a while. We had a series going on where we were making fun of people and their favorite bands, and it was getting millions of views. Yeah, but all things to an end.
So, who's your biggest music idol in the music industry right now? Who do you look up to?
I look up for probably, there's 3 bands that come to mind. In terms of bands that we aspire to rival production and songwriting. Well, I don't want to say song. There are better songwriters, but production and in terms of modern aesthetic style production and just overall, I think Nothing But Thieves are a very good point for us to look towards. But if you're talking about the greats, it's the Killers. They just have been untouchable for the last 20. No one has gotten to their level for the last 20 years, right? I mean, you have people like the Foo Fighters and whatnot, or the Stones that have been around since, I don't want to say the Foo Fighters have been around since dinosaurs, but the Stones have, right? And my point is, they're pulling 75,000, 40,000 people, every night, everywhere they play. But that is the exception. Killers are still newer than both of those bands in a lot of ways. And nobody has reached their level. I would say Catfish and the Bottlemen kind of got close, but then they fell apart.
Don't even.
That's one of her favorite bands. Poster up there.
I'll stop crying in a minute. They're
top 3. I put Catfish in my top 3 or top 5 for sure.
I mean, you've literally just mentioned 3 of my favorite bands, so I'm happy. I'm done for the interview.
It makes why you're interviewing me, because we all like the same music, and clearly that translates into the music we make. It's just, I really wish Catfish would come back. I know Bob quit, and it's really upsetting. It's really upsetting, but I think this is totally fucking Van's fault, because he wrote the same album 3 times in a row. And
it's loads of stuff have been said about Van where he caused arguments, whatever. But I don't know.
I think that's what it is. I think it's just Van, and his ego. It's how it always is, man. He's not the first lead singer to break a band.
No, definitely not.
Always.
And the Stones, for sure. Gotta love the Stones. I'm not gonna lie, got put on their Instagram the other week. Not the actual Stones Instagram.
You guys been digging the new 1975 record? Have you guys been listening to the 1975 stuff?
Yeah, the new stuff, sure. I wasn't the first one, what's it called, part of the band. Wasn't sure on that one.
Yeah.
The 2 other ones, I'm here for it.
They're in their experimental phase now.
Yeah. But I mean, they headlined Reading, and everyone was hating it first, and now everyone's like loving everything to do 97 Brown. Like, you should have loved them at the start.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's what how it goes. Radiohead was the same way because their first two records were super commercial, like sellout,
yeah.
and then they did OK Computer. Everybody flipped and like, oh, you sing great. All they did was hate on them before. So
Mm. So what inspires your music? Like, what inspired the name behind the album Generation Waiting? Like, is there a story behind that? Or you just
there
thought,
is.
"Oh, cool."
I love that phrase. Generation Waiting has been in my head since I was 16. And there was a song called Generation Waiting I wrote after James died in like 2012. I mean, it is so old, and it made it onto the record. It was an acoustic song. It was just acoustic guitar and then some like ambience, and then it translated over to piano. And we did all these synths and harmonies and really cool, very radio. It's probably the most Radiohead influenced sounding song we have. But that record and that title, Generation Waiting, came from the idea of just the lost generation, the people that are always longing and waiting for the next thing, but are never actually present where they are. They're always looking towards the future or looking towards that next thing that will come in and take them away from where they're at now. And what they don't realize is no matter how many of those things come, they're never, ever, ever going to be satisfied. They're always going to be waiting forever. And I don't think that has to do necessarily with age. I think it has to do with like the age that we are in now. And it's not just about digital media. I mean, that's one part of it. It's just about how the human brain has been conditioned right now. And digital media is only part of it. The state of the world is lost right now, and Generation Waiting is supposed to symbolize kind of like, hey, first of all, like it is more than okay, I'm really sick and tired of seeing the music industry glorifying illness. Right? That's one thing that we see a lot. As someone who struggles with mental illness, as someone who writes about mental illness a lot in songs like Girl in Blue, that use it as their therapy, to help people. It's really annoying when you see assholes like Machine Gun Kelly get up there and talk about how cool it is to be fucked up and, oh, I'm going to kill myself, doing drugs is cool. Yeah, I mean, I hate that dude. I hate him so much. And he's a terrible person. I know people that, tour with him, are on tour with him right now, and all the rumors are true. Right? And I have no problem going on record saying this, because if he responds, first of all, I get way more famous. So I'm just totally kidding. But the truth is, like, people like him, were the reason why we made this record. Is like, hey, we're going to talk about this shit, but we're not going to make it in like a cool commercialized way. We're going to make it like, no, this is the real deal. This is what this lost kid sitting on his rooftop at 4 a.m., thinking about suicide. These are the thoughts going through his head. And that's, songs like On and On came from that, which was actually written about the last childhood friend of James killing himself before I moved to LA. So the title Generation Waiting started when, right after James passed, and it was this whole longing to feel okay, waiting to feel okay. When are we going to have our time? We've been waiting our whole life. It's time for, the lost generation to have its day. And that was the whole idea. And I think that's why the album, kind of became a concept album, a lot like how Echoes of a Dream did. And I think that's why, even though, what's the word I'm looking for? Musically, it's a little less 80s inspired. I still think a lot of those fans liked it because of the conceptual idea behind it. Really, really resonated with a lot of people. And yeah, that's kind of where it came from.
Mm-hmm. So if like you can have just a list of songs, but when there's like a whole meaning and a kind of story behind it, it just like
makes it more personal, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's great that you're sharing it as well.
I like albums, guys. You know what I mean? I like albums. I don't like bands and artists that just make singles. And this is why I fell in love with radio. That's why I fell in love with Nothing But Thieves, Catfish and the Bottlemen, 1975. I mean, all of them, Killers, they all do these grandiose concept albums. It's not just about, oh, here's a cool single. Here's a cool single. Here's a cool single. Bands like Walk the Moon do that, and that's great. That's good for them. But like, we want to, build something a little bit more. I don't want, deeper isn't the word. Universal. I want it to be more of like an even exchange. When people buy into listening to a band, it's because they're giving you emotion. And if that emotion is limited to a 3-minute and 30-second, oh, I feel happy jumping up and down in the car vibe, and that's just not enough for us. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm trying to do.
So if you could describe your music to someone who's never heard it in 5 words, what 5 words would you use?
Good question.
That's a difficult question.
Okay, hold on.
Have some time to think. It's all right.
I got it. I got it. Angsty, emo, retro, alternative music.
Amazing.
I feel like that's the quickest someone's come up with it.
Yeah. The only band hasn't gone over the 5 words or something.
Oh, we're a different league, you know?
Yeah. So how did you form your band? Like, how did you all meet and decide, let's get bands together?
How do we meet? Well, Will, the drummer, is my brother. We've been playing since we were 13 in multiple bands. All of them ended up leading to this one. Adam and Tyler, we met after Will and I moved to LA because we, kicked out the other member. Well, they kicked out, they left. And, we actually, not sure we kicked out both of them, but that's a story for another time. One of them just wouldn't make move. The other one was just wanted to do their own, endeavors. I don't want to call it selfish. At the time, it's what it felt like. But now looking back, it's definitely the right move for that person. But we parted ways with our band in Virginia because we were just playing college parties. We didn't really have like a sound and image. We didn't really know what we were doing. We just had good songs. That's all we had. So we moved to LA, restarted, recorded 3 songs, which would be Explode, Soul on Fire, and Homesick. And then we were like, wow, we still don't have a sound. So then I had the song Girl in Blue, which was about I had a type, and I had a type because I was emotionally damaged, really emotionally damaged. So I, had a lot of people in my life that were also emotionally damaged. So I wrote that song as kind of like an homage to all of them. And that was when Tyler and Adam came into our life, who are bass player and current keyboardist. We met them right after that song dropped. We only put out Beginnings, that other EP afterwards, which we had recorded before Girl in Blue. It was like we did these songs, then we did Girl in Blue, we put out Girl in Blue, then we put out 5 or 6 other singles. It sounded nothing like Animal Sun just because we got, other people, and I don't want to say who they are, but A&Rs and whatnot, there's, oh, you need to sound like this, so we did like all these things, and we're like, no, screw that.
We'll do it all way.
we know who we are, what we look like. Girl in Blue was the sound. Girl in Blue is who we are. We're tired of letting other people tell us what. So we wiped the 5 songs off the internet, and then we did an album, Echoes of a Dream, a short album. It's still an album, but it's on the shorter side. That's centered, and we did that on purpose because we wanted every song to be a single, almost level, like that level of detail went into it. So we wanted that Girl in Blue song to be the middle centerpiece, right? And it was in 2019 when that song came out that Adam and Tyler came into our lives. And Tyler actually started out on the drums for us first because Will was not all the way moved here. And he hadn't decided whether he was fully committing. So like Will was like in 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And Tyler was playing drums and Adam was bass. And we had another keyboardist at the time, and our producer would perform with us on stage. It was all a cluster F. And over the years, we perfected it. I mean, obviously, Will full committed and moved to LA at the end of 2019, early 2020. And then we recorded Echoes of a Dream, put that out last year, and the rest is history. Now we have Generation Bleeding 2, and we already started the 3rd. And I will tell you, the single we're working on right now is, I think, the best thing we've ever done, even better than Girl in Blue. And I haven't said that in 3 years.
Look forward to hearing it then. You can send us a press release if you want when it gets released.
we got you guys.
Yeah.
Of course. How do you find being in a band with your brother though? Because that hasn't always worked well in the past.
Will and I used to get along really horribly as kids, like 10. We were fighting crazy, and then something switched when we were 15. We just haven't fought since we were 15. I used to punch him in the face, all the shit. I think it was just like maybe we just like got it out when we were young. Yeah. We just had it. So I think it was the parents' divorce, because like we had to travel back and forth. The US is a huge country. I mean, it's like, 4,000 miles from coast to coast. So it's like my mom moved to Idaho, which was like in the upper West Coast area, and my father is living in Virginia, which is lower East Coast. So it's as far away from one another as they could possibly get. And my brother and I would go back and forth all the time. And I think it was the constant uprooting our lives and going back and forth. We kind of only had each other. So over the years, we let go of that brother rivalry. It just became, family.
Awesome.
If you could go back to the start of your music career, so what's the one piece of advice that you'd give your younger self?
It was about 10 years ago now. So I would tell it's the same shit that like everyone says, oh, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But really, the best advice I can give to anyone that's going to do music is when you lay out goals, whatever, think about it like this. Think about a metaphor like this, where there's a bunch of trees, crazy dark looking woods, and there's a mountain that you're trying to get to, right? A bunch of people are on this grassy hill, right? We'll call that normal life. And it's safe, it's normal, it's nice. And they don't see a path through the trees. They just see the mountain and look at it and say it's impossible, right? And so what happens is people get stuck looking at this lofty end goal, and they don't realize that they don't think it's possible to ever get there. When if they had just said, like, not worried about the end goal, put it there, sure, but just create very achievable goals. And then the moment you hit those goals, you're going to set goals that are only, and I mean barely, slightly higher. Because it's once you have momentum, then you can easily move up levels, right? It's just like how if we had dropped Generation Waiting last year, it wouldn't have had anywhere the same impact if we hadn't built for 2 years with Girl in Blue and Echoes of a Dream, right? And it's the same thing with music. That's what I would tell my younger self, is you set those tiny goals, and I mean tiny. Like the first goals will be like play an open mic night, record 3 demos, and open for a bigger local band. That would be the first 3. You do those, okay, now get 1 professionally finished single, right? Collab with 3 other artists and play not an open mic night, play like a legit ticketed event, right? And then you do that and say, okay, release an EP, start playing ticketed events, in and around your town, open for a really big local band, right? Okay, you did that. Now you want to open for a nationally touring act and do blah, blah, blah. But it would be very slightly higher. I'm not talking about like, oh, I opened for a big band that was local and now the Killers are coming through town. No, I'm not. I mean, like, I'll give you an example, like the Frights that we opened for when they came through town. This is right before they blew up. So they weren't even super famous yet. They were like only 200 people at that club. Right. But then it helped us a lot because right afterwards they got really successful. Then we were able to go, we opened for these guys, right? And that helped us get gigs like, the Dreamers collab that we did, or Kelsey Carter tour. All of that came from, building very slowly. So that's the advice I would give to myself, is like, stop looking at that lofty end goal and just set these, little micro goals. And eventually those micro goals will get so high. Like my micro goals for next year versus what they were 4 years ago is night and day, right? But based on what we achieved this year, with the Kelsey Carter tour, the Dreamers feature, the Ann Arbor tour with the Hire, and we're going to break 10 million plays long before the year's even out. So like my goals next year are like, higher than that, and that's how you do it. There's no other way, or you'll go crazy. You'll go crazy looking at trying to, how do I get to that mountain? I'm never getting there. I give up.
I mean, you've got to start somewhere. If you don't set your goals,
Taking baby steps.
Yeah.
They have to be small. That's what I mean. They have to be small. And then the moment you hit them, you got to literally visually cross them off. And it's that one slightly higher, else you'll go crazy. Yeah. You will. You'll be like, I'll never be able to do this. Because you won't see progress. You know what I mean?
People are like, they want to do something and then don't do anything about it. And I'm like, we're not going to reach at you.
We all have those friends. Yeah, I have a lot of best friends that are like that.
So following from that question, what's the best piece of advice that someone else has given you? Do you have any?
It's not you know what? I'm going to give you not advice. I'm just going to give you a mysterious quote.
Yeah.
The best advice I ever heard was from a pretty famous musician. And he said basically that, like, you should never ask me for advice, because if I tell you to change something, that could be the one thing that made you unique and different that would have broken you. And then I made you like everybody else. That was the best advice I'd ever heard someone say. But it wasn't necessarily to me. And now I internalize it. Because everyone else has just said the same cliche shit. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and I've hung out with like my heroes, you know, I was chilling with the Struts like a few weeks ago, which would have blown my mind as a child. Even though we're practically the same damn age. It's just, you know, I was in high school when they were not high school. I was in, you know, a freshman in college when they were, you know, touring the world. So, and, you know, now I became friends with them, obviously through Kelsey, but it's just, you know, my life has had a linear trajectory only because of these goals that I set for myself, and they're getting bigger and bigger. Like I'm nowhere near close to where I want. I want to go to the Killers level by the time I'm in my 40s. Like that's the plan.
I mean, that's what Van said in all the interviews. He's like, we're going to be headlining everywhere. I mean, they did. They started doing that.
Right. You know, they were primed and ready to be the next Killers in a lot of ways. I think honestly what happened to Catfish is that the drummer got bored of playing the same type of song over and over again. Like you listen to the 3 records and it's like identical songwriting. And I understand why he quit, but I just don't see how they're going to come back from it. They've been dark on social media for like years. I don't know. Maybe it's his mental health. Maybe there's something else going on we don't know about.
Yeah. I mean, everyone says their songs sound the same. I'm like, yeah, but they're good. So
Yeah, they're good.
It sounds good.
They all sound the same. I would say the albums sound very similar, but I wouldn't say the songs are carbon copies of the other.
Yeah.
It's not like you put on 7, you're gonna go, oh, that sounds exactly like Soundcheck, the melody.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's 4 chord guitar music. Of course, it's eventually gonna sound the same.
Exactly. So we're kind of coming to the end of the year now. Did you set any goals at the start of the year, and if so, have you completed them?
Well, I did get those. I got 2 now. I got 3 tours, put out the album, got that big feature. Once I hit 10 million plays, and which is going to be pretty soon, and once we hit that milestone, which is the last milestone I set for myself, the only other one would be signing like an official record deal next year. We have a pub deal and we have a single deal, but we don't have a record deal. That's the next thing we need to do, and we need an agent and a manager, because right now we have like a bunch of people that are kind of like pseudo doing those things through Secret Friend Music Group, and also like people on our own team, but we don't have like an official, we are signed to a manager, we are signed to this record thing. We're like, you know, we're in those circles and we're playing footsie with a lot of them, but we haven't officially committed. So it's like that's what we need to do next year is get that official record deal, official manager, start doing some international tours. There's big talk of us going to Canada this fall.
Come to London.
No, that's what I'm saying. So these are the things we're working on, right? So like if we can get next up is the UK, right? So that's my goals this year is like once we hit that 10 million is it. So really, yes, it's just, you know, we're not there yet. There's still 4 months left of the year. So, but we're almost there and it's freaking September. So I would say once we hit that, I'll be done with my goals. And then next year, next year, the goals are simple. It's like start doing, you know, bigger tours, bigger festivals, new record, way higher follower listener count. And then obviously get the record deal manager and agent, because right now we just like kind of have them, but not really. It's weird. It's like a weird in-between phase.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest challenge in your career so far?
Biggest challenge?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I would say probably living in Los Angeles. I hate it here. I really do. And it's really mainly because of the culture. The culture and where I live is like really, really fake. Now the actual residents of LA and not the music industry are actually really amazing. But the problem is just the industry that I'm in Los Angeles. It's so bad. I mean, a lot of people like moved to Nashville, New York, because they just couldn't deal with it. So that's been, I would say, the biggest challenge is dealing with the culture here. And then also it's, I'm really far away from the people I love and care about. And obviously it's extremely expensive live out here. But you know, we're doing more than fine. Honestly, I'm finding little micro things to complain about. Like I would rather be in Nashville or New York or even freaking Denver, and anywhere would be better than here at this point. But until we're at a level, we can kind of be almost international, it doesn't make sense for us to all separate like that. So we are here for the foreseeable future. But back to the biggest challenge besides having to live in LA and be away from everyone I care about and be in like a different environment that I'm not used to. It was definitely when we did the tour with Kelsey Carter and our freaking tour bus blew up.
Saw that.
Oh my God, you guys have no idea. So we just tell you, bought the bus for an obscene amount of money, and the repairs were even more than what the bus cost. And what happened was the engine was rebuilt, but the guy didn't replace the oil pump. He just left the same one in there. So it was leaking oil, and eventually about an hour and a half outside of Seattle. And we woke up in like a blizzard, by the way. We drove out of the blizzard, so it wasn't snowing. It was only like in the 40s or maybe lower 40s. And then one of the pistons went through the engine, exploded. Like shot. It was at 6:00 at night on the side of the road, and we were about 13 hours from Salt Lake City, which we had to play the next day. So we called a tow truck who picked us up and towed the bus to a mechanic shop. And our tour manager and videographer went with him. Videographer for that tour, who was also doing some backup guitar playing and electric violin on some songs. So they went with the tow truck driver to drop the bus off at this performance shop where it stayed there for a month. And the band and I went to a U-Haul that was right up the road to rent a bigger truck to then drive to the closest town that had an airport, which was over an hour away, to actually rent a new tour van. And the only thing they had was a 9-passenger Ford Escalade. So it was like
very helpful.
Ford Expedition. So it was like a 9-passenger like mommy mobile, and that's the biggest thing they had. And we couldn't use the truck we'd rented because it was a moving truck. We had no way to get to this town, so we had to get dropped off at a U-Haul just to rent a big 15-foot moving truck to drive to the nearest town so we could do something. And that's all they had.
At least you've got good stories.
Way more money than even wanted like that night to get the new thing. Then we drove back an hour and 15 minutes to where the performance shop was, where our tour bus was. We met those people. They let us keep it there for a month. Super nice people, long-term fans of us now, good friends. Long-term fans and friends. Now they're friends. They're not fans. They're friends of us. And, we packed the whole bus into the not the whole bus. We could only fit like 20% of what we brought. We had to leave like all of our gear on the bus and just take what were the essentials. We shoved it in this car. We didn't even have a trailer. Okay, so we had to stuff it all in there and sit 4 people to a 3-person seat. Everybody had their bags in their laps, and then we drove 13 hours overnight through a blizzard, no stopping, to go play Salt Lake City. Nobody slept, nothing. And then we played the show that night on no sleep, and then we started driving to Denver, and then ended up falling asleep by the side of the road at 3 a.m. And woke up and it was like 7. And we drove and did a little nap in a Wyoming town before playing Denver that night. Really tough. That was really, really, really tough. But we didn't miss a single show.
You stayed committed, so. So imagine you're just about to go on stage. What's one song that you're playing? Maybe not if your bus is broken down. But what's a song that you're playing to, get you in the mood, get you hyped up for the set ahead?
Probably Amsterdam by Nothing But Thieves. And that's because it really helps me vocally warm up. That song is like really fun to sing. That one gets me going. I also like Real Blood a lot. Real Blood will get me pumped. Real Blood's fun. I'm trying to think what else I would listen to. I mean, back in the what we call the good old days, when we would play like a lot of college house shows, is how we got our start. I mean, we would cover, it would be like indie alternative Wonderland. Every time we'd play like Cage the Elephant, like Shake Me Down, Tongue Tied by Group Love. We would do fucking what's that song? We do Arctic Monkeys, Why Do You Only Come When You're High? We do When You Read Killers. We do Chocolate by the 1975. I mean, these are the songs we would listen to before we would play, and then we played them. And then our own music sounded like that too. So like we got really famous like at our college campus, like very early on. We charged $5 to get in and start the show at 8. It would sell out in 15 minutes. I mean, we would make over $1,000 every night just playing in our living room. And that's how it all started, was doing like those covers, and then we mix in our originals, and then eventually people knew like Girl in Blue became more famous at our school than like those songs did.
I mean, you just named like every song on my playlist, so
there you go. Listen to the same music.
I mean, I've got an Arctic Monkeys poster up there, so
yeah, they just put out a new video actually.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm keen on it. As we said, another experimental.
Yeah, they're past. They're in their 20s.
Anyway, Arctic Monkeys. They're because like, do you like Tranquility Base, Hotel and Casino? Do you like the album?
You know, here's the thing about Arctic Monkeys is like that album wasn't bad. It's just not for me. You know what I mean? Like I know the kind of music that I like, and it's not the kind of music like that, but that doesn't mean that I can't look at it and go, artistically it was a major achievement for you, and there are people out there that love it. And that's how I look at everything that they're going to be doing from now on.
Yeah. So that's like Tranquility Base. It's still got guitars, it's still got some depth to it, but the new one, it's kind of just like, you know what I mean? Like there's vocals, and then there's like a tiny bit of drums, and I'm like,
Alex might be drunk permanently.
No. You can't say that. Anyway, so you're following on from the tour questions, because now we've got sidetracked the Arctic Monkeys, but I have to ask, just because I love Kelsey, we got to interview her, which that was like actually crazy to me, because I literally loved her as an artist before, so literally died.
That's cool.
I was like over the moon. But anyway, so what's it like touring with her? Because like she's like a proper rock and roll artist. Like
I would say that she's like really, really nice, whereas like when the camera's on, she's kind of got that like bad bitch, you know, like, persona. But when the cameras aren't on, we're both Leos, very similar we're very similar personalities, and I really, really consider her like one of my closest friends in the industry. She, you know, went after a scammer for me in New York, you know, like got in his face and like shouted and like grabbed him by the collar and stuff. And I've never seen anyone do that for one of their friends that they didn't really know that well. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm just opening for you on tour. Look at you have my back like that. And it was just, that's when I knew that we were going to be mates. Honestly, it was when that happened. And then obviously when tour ended, she invited me over for like a pool party, and then poker, and then a few other things. And that's how I met the Struts, became friends with them. And she is just the nicest person in the world, and just fun. Obviously she's fun, but she's just really, really nice. And remember how she's always talking about like in her TikToks about how like I may appear like mean, but I'm a cream puff or something. I don't know that she's a cream puff. I just think that she is one of the nicest people I've ever met. And
I mean, on the interview,
really like her.
Just so nice. And I went to like the UK show. Obviously, you weren't supporting, but
weren't they playing last night? They played some show last night.
They did play, and then I was like, last minute, I was like, oh, I should have gone to that. Like, I could have easily gone.
It was free.
I know. Don't you know? So mad.
We did the same shit. So like we 2 weeks ago did like some hole in the wall in LA. Like that's what we wanted. We wanted that rock and roll hole in the wall bullshit. We made it free. And 450 people showed up to a 200 cap club, and it was just so ratchet. But it was great. It's the only time I've ever seen a club promoter let me do whatever the hell I wanted. He's like, you doubled my venue capacity, so you can, you know, I don't know, get paid for all I care. Yeah, so you should have gone. It would have been this, you know, something similar to that, I'm sure. Knowing Peach and them get.
So you mentioned you were working on a single right now. Could you tell us a bit more about that, maybe?
Sure. We actually finished one single. We're about to finish the second. We're working on the third album, and that's just because we don't know how to stop working. We're gonna find a partner to release this one. We definitely don't need to self-release it, but that doesn't mean that we can't start making the music, while we're talking to people. So that's what we're doing. Is that we absolutely need to keep working. That's just how we are, and we're kind of going a little dystopia. I don't want to say like muse on this, but like we're kind of like saying the things that nobody really wants to say on this record. Some of it may be a little bit controversial, kind of like one of the songs we're working on right now is kind of like talking about how everybody's like kind of walking this line of like kind of keeping this mask on, and like nobody really wants to say it, but like usually when people around you succeed, like you get jealous. You don't get happy for them. You walk this line of like, oh, I'm so happy for you, but like secretly you really want what they have and you don't think they deserve it. And it creates this bitter resentment that's within all of us, all the damn time, and nobody's even talking about it. So these are the kind of things we're talking about on this third record. And this song that we're working on right now is, I would say it's the only thing that like surpasses Girl in Blue that we've ever done. It's very similar musically, like people say, oh, that sounds like Girl in Blue, but it's lyrically, I would say I just think this song is going to take us to a different level when it comes out, like far beyond where we're at right now. And I'm very, very excited for the world to hear it, because I think it has a very important message, and that is, it's okay to think these things, but just know that's what they are, only thoughts.
I mean, look forward to hearing it. So, just throwing a bit of fashion in there, as you're a fashion and music magazine. How do you like describe your style as a band in like, say, 5 words again, since you were so good at the 5 words last time?
Oh gosh. Am I allowed to use bands to describe our style?
Yeah, as a band, or you personally?
Well, I guess I mean like clothing style, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I would say, can I do less than 5 words? Does it have to be?
Yeah. No, you can do.
I would say for me, definitely it's going to be the Killers meets Youngblood, right? In terms of like our fashion style. That's literally what it is. It's like the Killers went, shopping with Youngblood for the fucking day. Like that's literally what it would look like. And that wasn't done on purpose. We don't hate Youngblood. I think a lot of people do hate him for no reason. But we're not like massive idols of him. You know what I mean? We're not like, oh my God, I want to be like you. I think it's more like, oh, we appreciate you, man. Keep, you know what I mean? But we're not trying to like just rip off his style. I think no one is really kind of dressing like us, because we are borrowing 2 different people's things and marrying it into one, that it doesn't look like anyone else. But if you were to take those 2 people and put them together, then it very much would look like what we do. So
I mean, that's definitely a scene to imagine, isn't it? The Killers going shopping with Youngblood.
that'd be funny to tell. Honestly,
I don't want to see that.
Here we go.
Oh no, not the British accent. I mean, I'm not going to try and do an American accent. Yeah, that's not going to happen. No. But
awful.
His accent isn't even like UK. His accent is something else. And the thing is, like, people think I'm British because of our music. I've had people from South London that met us last tour, and they thought I was British because of how I was singing. And when they met me, they were really, really disappointed. From London. I was like, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
I think Palais Royale are the biggest offenders of that. They're trying so hard to look like they're from the UK. Sound like it. Yeah.
I mean, I think you should take it as a compliment.
I will. I will take it.
Brits are just great.
You guys have the best music.
They're great.
You do have the best music. I mean, apart from Animal Sun, obviously. But like
The Snot is another band over there you guys might like.
I love The Snuts. I was actually listening to their music earlier, so
That's so weird because like they found us early on, like kind of right when they were catching fire, because like we started supporting them right before they like got signed. And they followed us back and they've been supporting us ever since. And it's always crazy to see them comment on our fucking photos, like congrats groups whenever we get a tour or something. And it's just crazy. Oh, what's up, guys? Like, you guys are fucking massive, but all right. Hello, number one album.
So right now, if you could play one song on repeat, what song would it be? Like right now, at this moment.
The new one.
The new one.
The new one that I was just telling you about. And I probably will play it on repeat after this call all day. If I hadn't written the song, it would probably be, that new Killer song, boy, is really good. I don't know if I heard it. It's like, sounds exactly like anything that was on Sam's Town or Hot Fuss. I mean, it's like, like it could be right there next to Human by them, or, When You Were Young. Read My Mind, any of it sounds exactly like it. So I would maybe play that one for now, just to pick some new song that's been out there, because all of my other favorite bands haven't put anything out in the last 2 years.
I mean, yeah, that's my problem. I mean, now the Arctic Monkeys are releasing, but I'm not listening to it. I'm joking. I mean, Catfish.
You like How But They Found Me, probably. Do you like that band? IDK. All right, I guarantee you like that band, so you should go check the IDK out.
I'll check them out after.
Knowing your music taste, I think I just found you another favorite band.
Oh God. I mean, you literally just have to look. I've got Harry Styles. You got Harry Styles? Got Harry Styles, Catfish, Inhaler. Do you know Inhaler?
Inhaler, yeah. Big band.
And then Arctic Monkeys. So that's literally all you need to know about me. And
yeah, so you will like this band, knowing that. And then also, I'm sure you guys know Railblood too. They're pretty awesome. All right.